Now, the decay in and around the city of Johannesburg has been well documented for several years now. With the new year now underway, though, issues such as countless potholes and crumbling water and electricity infrastructure don't seem to be getting any better. So while Joburg has so many problems, what are the solutions and how can the metro get back on track? To join us on a deep dive into the City of Gold's issues, I'm joined by two guests, Dr. Ferrial Adam, who's a manager at the organization WaterCAN, and Professor Richard Meissner, a water governance expert. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us this evening. Prof, let's perhaps start with you. I mean, the City of Johannesburg is faced with a number of issues, like I mentioned, potholes, infrastructure issues, issues around electricity. Can the city still hold on to the tag of being a world-class African city?
Well, yes. Yeah, look, I'm not a resident of Johannesburg. I actually stay in Hartbeespoort, but I frequently visit Johannesburg. And from what I've seen, you speak about potholes and electricity. And also water. I don't see there's no reason why it shouldn't be called a world-class city. However, we must take into consideration that the city, and like every other city in South Africa, sits with this legacy of those who can afford, to pay the utility bills, and those who are too indigent to do so. So what the city of Joburg, in the insert about Eskom, it's about very good management and also good leadership, although those are just two of the variables. But good management, and I've already seen that earlier this year with its revised business plan by Joburg Water, when the former minister Senzo Mkhunu stepped in, that there is a political will to resolve the water woes in the city.
We will come to management and just leadership in a while, Prof. But maybe just to touch on some of the challenges that the city is facing, and one of them being poor revenue collection. I mean, this has plunged the city in 2022 from 1.2 billion surplus to a 300 million in 2023 at the end of that financial year. And we know that for municipalities, a lot of their revenue collection comes from water and electricity. What do you think needs to be done in order to turn that purse around, especially when it comes to collections around water usage by the citizens?
Yeah, that's a financial management matter, and the city managers that manages the city's finances, they will have to come up with a very good plan if they haven't done so yet. But just to give you a bit of context, in November, I attended as an observer a portfolio committee meeting on water and sanitation in Parliament. And it was about water and about 5 municipalities who owns 2 water boards, couple of billion rand. And the SELGA representative told me afterwards that there are municipalities who wants to pay their water bills, and then there are those who can afford it but don't pay it. So those who wants to pay it, pay their water utility bills. There is a will to do that, but they just don't have the financial means to do so. And Joburg isn't one of them. Joburg is one of those more affluent metropolitan municipalities where it can be done. And the main reason for these municipalities, especially in the rural areas, that wants to pay but cannot pay, is because of economic conditions. There's a lot of economic growth prospects aren't that good. Many people are poor. They can't afford the utilities. So I would say that Johannesburg is much better off than many of these rural municipalities. But if push comes to shove, they can always approach Treasury, either provincial or national Treasury, to do so. It's a political decision that the council should make. And also, that's one of the ways that they can generate finance. And then, what also often works, which is low-hanging fruit, is an awareness campaign to how can I put it? get people to pay their utility bills. So yeah, no, there's I wouldn't say that it is a completely dark picture.
And I mean, you spoke a little earlier on, Prof, with regards to just leadership and management, and we've seen how the mayoral chains have changed amongst mayors in the city of Johannesburg. We are now sitting without a city manager. Floyd Brink was removed from that post, and it said that the current mayor is looking and championing for the CEO of the JPC, Helen Botus, to take over that position. How does leadership really impact the way in which a city is run?
Well, it's very important. I mean, you can compare it to the CEO of a very large company. The city manager and the, beg your pardon, the city manager, which is the head of the operations division of the municipality, and then also the mayor, whether executive or not non-executive, the head of the political wing. And these two leaders, they must really be speaking to each other and have a very good understanding. Leadership plays a fundamental role, but it's not the only. Many people will always say, yeah, everything rises and falls on leadership. But from what you're saying, if the mayor is looking for somebody with a leadership acumen, management skills, whether it's in the business or in the public sector, then that sounds like the way to go, because you need that fundamental management skills, that public administration and business administration skills to run a municipality or a complex entity like Johannesburg.
So, I mean, Prof, you speak that it doesn't only rest on the leadership of a city in order to be able to turn things around, in as much as the responsibility does lie with them in terms of ensuring that the city is run in a way that it's meant to. Do you think that the private sector that operates and makes profits within the city also have a social compact in assisting in reviving the city?
Yes, I think so. And there are many private entities, companies, they already have what they call corporate social responsibility activities. I know the mining sector is they're very active with that. But the private sector can most certainly play a role. But it's not. It must be thought through very carefully before a company wants to do something. It would be advisable, if a company wants to get involved in whatever initiative, is to approach the municipality and ask them what their priorities are, because we think that our own priorities take precedence over another person or entity's priorities. But you have to know what those priorities are and how things work within that municipality from a public administration perspective. Public administration and business administration, yes, there are commonalities, but there are also differences. And we cannot say that the municipality should be run like a business. That won't work. If you want to see a disaster, appoint a city manager as a former CEO, and with the reason that he or she ran a company very successfully. That won't work. You need public administration management skills to run such an entity.
So Dr. Adam is now with us and joining in this discussion. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we're just speaking there, Dr. Adam, with regards to how the city currently is. But I just want to understand from you just how does governance, especially in a city like Johannesburg, impact the social equity and the access of services, especially when it comes to water for very marginalized citizens within the city of Johannesburg?
Good evening to you and to your viewers. Yes, I mean, I think if we just look at the city of Johannesburg with our revolving door of mayors or musical chairs or whatever you want to call it, that we had 8 mayors in a very short space of time, it affects governance because there's no continuity. So what that does is a few things. One is it affects leadership. And if you don't have leadership in the city, you're basically floundering. You cannot get things done. The second thing it does is that it allows and it opens the door for corruption, mismanagement, all of that. And when that happens, then you are not getting your services on track and you're not making sure that your city is operating. And you just need to look at the city of Joburg, whether it's roads, electricity, or water, to know that we've been floundering for quite some time. And I think it's particularly linked to poor governance, mismanagement, and poor leadership.
So a News 24 report has outlined that a chief economist, Dr. Jamin, has said and rather warned of an unprecedented move that would be a first for any South African municipality, with the Treasury possibly having to step in and bail out the most important metro in the country, being that of the city of Joburg, to prevent it from collapsing. Do you think we have come to such a time, Dr. Adams, where we now need the bailouts from Treasury?
I think we definitely have come to a time where something urgent has to happen. If we look at everything from our libraries falling apart, from basic services, I mean, I think that from libraries to roads to traffic lights to water, I really do think that the city of Joburg's not coping with what's going on, and they do need a bailout. But it should be a very monitored bailout. So what we've been asking for, and we have a petition running right now, is to have a council take a decision to actually ring fence money for water and sanitation. So there has to be better checks and balances in place. It shouldn't just be another municipal grant that's provided or given to the city and then they run rampant with the money. We need to make sure that there's better oversight. And oversight doesn't just mean having government officials looking in and all of that. We need to say that civil society is here as well. And we can act as a watchdog to make sure that money is not wasted.
So, Prof, maybe just to close off with regards to some of the low-hanging fruit that you believe exist, and just what's the role of the community itself in ensuring that the city is that and kept as that world-class African city?
Yeah, one of the roles and responsibilities, Ferrial just mentioned, that is to be a watchdog. Communities should play a much more active role in their communities, in their wards, the communities, their townships, the city as a whole, to see that things run properly, that there isn't any mismanagement or, like Ferrial said, poor governance. And also the communities and also the individuals, they have the means to replace their ward councillors. And I've heard some very disturbing things from ward councillors, not about the city's management, but about predictions being made that there won't be water over Christmas. If the communities would want to listen to a ward councillor like that's fear-mongering, they must take a decision to vote that ward councillor out. So communities, they play a watchdog role. They play they play a supporting role. They can many civil society organizations, like in your social development sphere, they can step in, but it must be done within a coordinated manner, and in concert with the municipality, the council, and the operational managers, so that they don't go about these things helter-skelter. It must be focused and coordinated.
And Dr. Adam, do you believe that Joburgers and South Africans as a whole are educated enough in active citizenry?
I think we're quite an active society. Whether we're educated enough on particular issues, we still need to work on that. And we all have to work on making sure that happens. But if I look at the water sector in particular and the water groups, the kind of conversations that are happening there are very much linked to an informed active citizenry. That, of course, is not something that just, we need to keep making sure that there's education and awareness on issues. And we need to get people to work together and not against each other. And that's the challenge. But I think that in terms of holding local government accountable, in the last few years, especially around water, around the state of our city, people have been doing exactly that. And there's the combination. There's the combination of those who are like hard-hitting, protesting, etc. But there are also those that are working with and doing amazing things to clean streets, clean rivers, be more aware on crime, all of that. And I think what needs to happen is that government needs to realize that they need to be more transparent. They need to be able to work with civil society and not carry on as if we are the enemy.
Right.
Yes, we will hold them accountable and be harsh on it, but there's a very big trust deficit, and they needed to do a lot of work to build that.
Okay, thank you so much to you both, Dr. Adam, Professor Meissner, for your time and your inputs this evening as we speak about the state of the city of Johannesburg.